we kind of get this question a lot about, like, I don't know if my needs are best suited for this. It's hard because a lot of people don't have a solid understanding of their target market. The thing that we're able to do is help them identify these offline behavior patterns and capitalize on them. You might not know the specific residential addresses of your competitors' employees, but you can come to us and say, this is my competitor. Their employees are prime candidates for my positions right now, and I'd like to target them. And we're able to say, okay, let's observe the devices of the people who are traveling to these corporate locations or other business locations, and let's identify the patterns, let's identify the places that they reside, and let's send them some targeted ads so that they're more aware of the opportunities with your business.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Denise Chaffin. I am the president of Top Source Talent, and my guest today is Alex Godfrey, and he is a business development analyst for a company called El Toro. And I learned about Alex's business during another podcast from Holland America Princess, and they explained a little bit about your business. But so Alex has agreed to come on and explain a little bit more about El Toro, and we can have a conversation around what you guys do with regards to IP targeting. So Alex, I'll let you go ahead and take over and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about El Toro.
Thanks, Denise, and thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. So I've been with El Toro for a few years now. Entrepreneurship's always been something I've been passionate about all the way back to college. It was something I focused on when I was in my MBA, and I've always been interested in cutting edge technology, real innovation that provides value. So when I got the opportunity to work with El Toro, I jumped on it. And I spent a couple of years as a product expert on the operations side, and I found myself fulfilling a lot of account management tasks. And the more I did that, the more I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. So I transitioned into the business development side of things to kind of lean into that. And since then, I've worked really hard to build my network and build my business and provide as much value as I can to all sorts of different types of businesses that are looking to maximize their return on ad spend.
Very good. Very good. Tell me a little bit more about El Toro, though. I mean, how does El Toro separate itself from other recruiting platforms that we're used to using in our industry?
Sure. El Toro is actually we're an ad tech firm. We do a lot of good stuff in recruiting, but we don't just recruit employees, we recruit customers. Okay. The method with which we do that is called IP targeting. So the secret sauce there is that we're deploying these ads directly to households. So we hold about 16 patents in this space. We actually invented IP targeting. And what we're able to do is identify an IP address at a specific location, particularly the household. A lot of businesses come to us and say, I've got this list of people I want to target, much the same way you would with direct mail. And we ingest that list of addresses and we match it with their corresponding IPs so that we can deliver ads through the Wi-Fi to anybody connected to the Wi-Fi network at those homes. And the real magic here is that by doing this, we solve two problems. One, people are more engaged when they're at home. They're much more likely to engage with an ad, to register it. You know, when you're out and about throughout the day, whether you're at work or you're shopping or sitting in your car scrolling before you walk in, right? You're kind of blind to the advertisements that are all around you. You're focused on the task at hand. And when you're at home, you're kind of just enjoying your free time. We're able to engage with people on a different level. We also are able to target everyone in the home, not just a specific person. Traditional advertisers will group people based on interest behavior, cookie profiles, and that's a big one with Google right now because they're doing away with it. The removal of that removes even more transparency from Google's ecosystem than it was already lacking. The thing we focus on is that level of transparency. So aside from generating this conversation in the household with people who are receiving these ads and are developing name recognition and are likely to talk about it because everyone in the household is seeing it, we solve the attribution problem as well. Exactly who you're delivering ads to when you're delivering with us. When you've collected the residential addresses of people who've converted, off of your ad campaign, whether it's employees who have applied for a job or maybe somebody's come into your dealership and bought a car. You can take that list of addresses of people who've bought or applied and correct it against the list of addresses we've targeted so they know exactly how well your advertising is working for you.
So let's talk about then how it expands then to targeting IP addresses for businesses, with respect to recruiting and how this has expanded to recruiting.
Sure. So I've spent a lot of time, particularly in the trucking space, with employee recruiting when I was in operations. There are 3 key data points that we identify. It's the physical location, the mobile advertising ID, and the IP address. So when I was working in trucking, we would identify people who were in the industry, truckers, based on where they were seen. So think truck stops, way stations, distribution centers. We would see mobile advertising IDs, device IDs, at these various locations in pattern. And we'd be able to say this person was seen at 2 truck stops and 1 way station and 1 distribution center on this highway in the past week. That's a trucker. So once we've collected that, we're able to map that mobile advertising ID back to its physical household address. And since we have that address, we'll identify the IP at that address so that we can deliver ads to the home. And that allows us to engage with 2 primary stakeholders in a job transition, which is the person holding the job and their spouse. Especially with recruiting, it's a big decision to move jobs, especially if you're not already in market for a new job. And those people are often the more desirable candidates anyway. By reaching these people that wouldn't have otherwise been able to be identified, we're really feeding top funnel for the job market.
Well, it's interesting because when I spoke with Holland America Princess, they were talking about how they're using it to hire seasonal workers, right? And they're using IP targeting where there's multiple people at a site. So they're not targeting people at their homes necessarily. They're targeting them at other work sites, right? Well, I just like, when we spoke about this in more detail with respect to other industries, there is healthcare, recruiting from one hospital to another. So again, you're targeting more a business versus a home.
Particularly with Holland America, right? We do deliver in real time to when they're on site at a job location. The trickier part with that is that employees have to be connected to the Wi-Fi in order to receive those ads. Now, at physical locations, that's like seasonal locations like amusement parks or other places that are seasonal like that, you're more likely to hit those employees. But we primarily try to identify employees based on that behavior pattern seen in the past. So with respect to nursing, right? If we're targeting nurses and we deliver ads to nurses while they're at the hospital, they're going to be more likely to consider, because like the needs in their current role, whether they're good or bad, right, are at the forefront of their mind. Maybe they're overworked, maybe they're underpaid. Stresses are at the forefront of their mind when they're in their job. So we hit these people both while they're at work and while they're at home. It's important to have a tandem approach with things like that because you want to stay as relevant as you can, especially when people aren't actively looking for jobs. But that's changing a lot since COVID.
You're right, exactly. It's interesting too, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of places that have a really heavily populated demographic, like say the Bay Area, for example, the tech industry. And you've got companies like last year, like Facebook and Google, who are laying people off. Since they're all in the same area, have companies use IP targeting to solicit to those people as well for some of the tech positions that were out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And the big push to return to office has helped with that a lot. It's harder when you don't have the list of addresses of people you want to target, right? That's where Venue Replay really comes in to help because we're able to say this group of mobile advertising IDs, this group of devices has been seen at Facebook's headquarters every day for the past 6 months. Those are clearly employees, right? We remove the visitors, the partners, the people who come in and tour the facilities, and we're able to say, you don't know specifically who these people are or where they live, but we do because we're observing the behavior patterns of these devices. It's funny you mentioned the Bay Area too, because a place like that is really heavily populated, and there's a lot of opportunity there to capitalize on that behavior that we observe.
That's very interesting. Now, I'm thinking as well, of expanding, IP targeting into other areas of recruiting. All these thoughts are coming to my mind about it because, we're using platforms now that are, they work, right? But we're always looking for new and innovative ways to target people and to contact people.
Sure.
What have you seen as far as a success rate, with respect to IP targeting used as recruitment?
Well, a big thing we try and focus on is the cost per acquisition, right? With some post-secondary online education programs, we do heavy student recruitment, and that works very much the same, right? Except instead of recruiting teachers, right, you're recruiting students. And a big market for that type of business is community colleges. We'll go and we'll observe devices that are seen traveling to community colleges for an entire semester and say, well, these people are in market for a degree. They're likely working on an associate's degree if they're at a community college. The online education options offer 4-year bachelor's degrees for comparable economic costs as community colleges do. So we'll look for audiences based on the same type of behavior patterns, and we'll build that out and deliver ads to them. Cost per acquisition in those markets is low. It's under $40 per applicant. And that's really what we try to grade ourselves on, is how well your ad's working for you. What's the return on investment?
That's amazing. $40 per acquisition would be, or per placement would be, they call it, I think, cost to hire, right? So that's, unheard of, really, because people usually are spending a lot of money, on some of these other recruitment platforms like ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or Indeed. Those companies charge a lot, to post positions. And there again, there's no guarantee who you're going to get. And I couldn't even tell you what the percentage of hires is. I think it would depend on how well written your position description is, right? Now, so let's talk about that for a second. Who's writing the solicitations that go out to these people? How are you soliciting these people?
It's through digital programmatic advertisement. Your job postings still need to be visible somewhere, whether it's on your website or if you choose to use a platform like LinkedIn and Indeed, right? You're trying to spread awareness that opportunity is out there for these potential candidates, right? I think OTT is one we particularly try to push when it comes to employee recruitment.
What's OTT?
OTT is a video advertisement that's placed in stream.
Okay.
So I think Hulu with ads, or popular platforms like Pluto and Sling TV, you get a lot more engagement from those ads because people, they're watching the content that they really want to see, right? They're much less likely to navigate away or to not really ingest the ad that's being shown to them because they have to watch it in order to see the rest of their content. OTT helps to create that engagement level and generate the conversation within the household, because multiple people are likely viewing it at once and they're seeing it multiple times a day.
Kind of like we used to do with newspapers.
Yeah, exactly. Or even, TV commercials, right? Like right. We're just much more targeted. You're not buying entire geographic areas to send commercials to. You're targeting a very specific list of people, and you're eliminating a lot of the ad waste that occurred prior to our technology.
So, Alex, do you see IP targeting then extending and expanding in tech and healthcare and some of the other segments besides trucking, where you started out with it?
Absolutely. We do a lot in the healthcare space, like I've mentioned, nurses and doctors. Financial services, especially, as there's this push to return to office, financial planners, investment advisors, tax accountants, and other things like that. There's huge opportunity now that some of the remote work is kind of going by the wayside, and there's this push to return to the workspace. So it makes it easier for us to identify these people, to identify their offline behavior patterns, really help people target and deliver ads and spread awareness in a more efficient way.
So, Alex, tell me, what industries and what talent groups, if you would, are best served utilizing a platform like IP targeting?
Well, Denise, that's a great question, actually. We kind of get this question a lot about, like, I don't know if my needs are best suited for this. And it's hard because a lot of people don't have a solid understanding of their target market. The thing that we're able to do is help them identify these offline behavior patterns and capitalize on them, right? So you might not know the specific residential addresses of your competitors' employees, but you can come to us and say, this is my competitor, and their employees are prime candidates for my positions right now, and I'd like to target them. And we're able to say, okay, let's observe the devices of the people who are traveling to these corporate locations or other business locations, and let's identify the patterns, let's identify the places that they reside, and let's send them some targeted ads so that they're more aware of the opportunities with your business, and really kind of promote that engagement, right? So manufacturing is one we do a lot of work in because people are on site every day. It's very consistent. We've mentioned healthcare, nurses especially at hospitals, just because they outnumber every other employee 10-1. QSR, quick service restaurants, that's another big industry that we do a lot of work in, especially with the rise of inflation and the competitiveness in those job markets. It's even more important to help businesses identify who the prime candidates are and get them interested in exploring opportunities.
Sure. In fact, last year I read an article that said hospitality, entertainment, restaurants, hotels, all those types of businesses right now they're increasing, their staff, especially after being so flat during COVID. So that's great to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rebound has taken a little while, but we're really seeing it in full force in the past year or so, and it keeps on moving.
Sure, you bet. Very good. Very good. Well, so it sounds to me like anybody or any company or any industry really could benefit from this.
Absolutely. It's all about knowing your target market and being able to connect those offline behaviors with their digital presence, which is what we're the best at. It's what we're known for.
Got it. I've been reading articles and talking to people that the semiconductor industry is going to be looking to build manufacturing fab.
Right.
And they're going to need to hire a ton of construction workers for the construction companies that are building these fabs, and also for the companies themselves. So this may be another way then, to kind of push advertisement, right? Out to
exactly
these people.
Right.
And I know that there's some schools actually who have construction management programs. So you mentioned a while ago, pushing ads out to students. If a company wants to advertise this way and it wants to connect with you or with El Toro, please let me know the best way to get in touch with you and also with El Toro.
Sure. Going to our website's a great resource. They break down a lot of our products' capabilities and applications. You can find case studies and product overviews, as well as a contact form, which will connect you to someone in our business development department. Or if you want to reach out to me personally, you can reach me at LinkedIn, or you can email me at alex.godfrey@eltoro.com.
Okay. And then your website again is eltoro.com.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, and I'm wondering too, if somebody is interested in learning more about this, because right now, especially like you said, a lot of companies want people to return to the office. Of course, there's still a big, huge tug of war over that. I mean, what if there's going to be both sides here? You're going to have some people working from remotely and some people working back in the office. So is this basically then a better format or a better tool for companies to use for people who are going to be returning to the office? Or how well will it work for people who are still working remotely?
The way we identify employees through our venue replay technology really focuses on that offline pattern of behavior, right? We're looking for devices observed at specific locations throughout periods of time. A lot of remote workers still are on a hybrid schedule. They return to office on specific days, and we're still likely to capture them at those locations on those days. The trick is knowing when they're going to be where. Networking events work really well for this too. A lot of accounting networking groups and financial service networking groups meet offline after work hours, and they do events around multiple different cities and have larger conferences in places like Las Vegas and Chicago. So as long as we're able to identify what that offline behavior is, we'll be able to connect it digitally and build audiences of those types of professionals.
So another question that I have then around this, do you see IP targeting as an extension of recruitment then, or do you see it actually maybe taking over or replacing maybe some of the platforms that we're using now? How effective do you think it'll be that way?
To say that you could get by with just IP targeting is truthful. You really need the visibility, though, that some of the other platforms provide. So if you don't have your job posting listed in an easy place for a candidate to view it, then it's going to be difficult for that candidate to convert, right? So you can think of our methods as kind of building that top of funnel. We generate the interest in people who currently are employed and are happy with where they are and are successful in their roles. And we get them thinking about the opportunities that lay before them. The recruiter's role is to connect with that candidate and say, oh, this is the opportunity before you. Here are the benefits. Here's what I think you could really offer. And here's what we could offer you. And in order to do that, you have to have some sort of medium. So whether it's your website, if you've got excellent SEO, that's great. Some people rely heavily on LinkedIn job postings as well. I think that's great too. You just have to have a way to connect with a candidate. And that's more of a mid-funnel process.
And as far as the logistics of how El Toro works then, when you have a new client that comes on, for example, is El Toro then helping that company then to set up an internal operation, if you would, to do the work themselves? Or is El Toro actually doing the work, to send out these messages and these solicitations to prospects?
We're sending out those messages. We're developing the interest. We are taking the message that you want to send, and we're making sure that the intended targets, the people who are actually in market, are primed to be in market, are receiving that message and are becoming more aware of the opportunity. We'll help you with anything that we're able to, but the delivery of the message is really what we focus on, because that's what we're best at. That's what we're known for, and we're the most targeted and we're the most accurate approach in that regard.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I would imagine that a lot of companies are going, we don't have to do this work ourselves. We don't even know how we'd have to go through training and understand more about it, because it is, again, it's a new platform. One more question I have on venue replay.
Sure.
So venue replay is another new term, that we heard during this conversation. Explain that a little bit in a little bit more detail, because in my mind, a venue is something like you mentioned a while ago, a conference or a career fair, things like that. What other types of venues would you be using to utilize venue replay? Yeah,
sure. So we've really focused this conversation on IP targeting, and that's the method by which we're sending these messages, right? We know the address, and we want to deliver these messages to people who are at that address, because we've identified those people as people of interest, targets of interest. Venue replay is how we identify them. So IP targeting is the method, and venue replay is the identification. So with Holland America, right, they identify the places that seasonal workers are appearing that they want to capitalize on. And we use venue replay to map that location down to its lat long parameters up to a squared meter. Within that area, we're saying we're observing the device IDs that are traveling to that location. So you mentioned conferences and larger events, but it's also business locations and company headquarters, and with trucking, right? I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. We're identifying devices that are seen at the way stations and the rest areas and the distribution centers. The identification and observation of those device IDs is all done through our venue replay tool.
So basically then somebody who is advertising or wanting to hire, they, first of all, like you said, need to have still a good position description, right? And then I would imagine that El Toro is going to help them, kind of create that marketing platform, for whatever positions they're looking to fill. And at that point in time, correct, I would imagine too that the people receiving those solicitations or advertisements can hit a share button if they want to share it with a colleague or somebody else they know that might be interested. in some
That's right.
ways, I mean, listening to you, I'm thinking this might even be an amazing referral source as well. People then aren't being directly, like when we contact people now on LinkedIn and whatnot, we'll ask them, oh, please share this with people or sometimes they'll offer to. But I would imagine with IP targeting and venue replay, it's even more so that pay it forward type of thing to your colleagues and friends and whatnot.
That's kind of the secret sauce again behind IP targeting. We get people so much more engaged and much more likely to generate that conversation. And with venue replay, if one device is observed at a location, the people that they're talking to, we're capturing their devices as well. So the likelihood of that conversation being generated because they're both receiving the same message is even greater. And that just enhances the likelihood of word of mouth travel.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, we're always looking for new ways of recruiting. Always have been. We're always seeking out new platforms, avenues, if you would, for recruitment. Yeah.
Sure.
So this is fabulous. I'll be staying in contact with you myself because, my team and I are very interested in utilizing this type of messaging to reach out to candidates. And plus it gives us a leg up too, to share with our clients, hey, guess what we're using now, so I love it. So it's eltoro.com is the name of your website, right? And then they can find you as well on LinkedIn if they want to contact you directly.
Yep. And they can email me too.
Okay.
Alex.godfrey at eltoro.com.
Alex.godfrey at eltoro.com. Thank you, Alex. This has been fabulous. I really appreciate all this information.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Denise. It's been wonderful.